Play intro.
Hello, and welcome to SLCW Live, coming to you from the sanctuary of Salem Lutheran Church here in Worcester, Ohio. We are glad you're here. Specifically, we'd like to welcome you to our Wednesday evening Lenten Bible study that will be taking place here every Wednesday night at 7 p.m. here on Zoom, and it'll also be viewable on our live stream on Facebook. If you'd like to just watch, that's fine. This Bible study is something that you can immerse yourself into, and if you'd like to join us, you can do so at any time by going to our website at www.slcw.org and clicking the link to join the group. On that same website, you can download the materials that we'll be using for this Bible study, which have been developed by the ELCA, Evangelical Lutheran Church in America, and they are from the Lent 2022 Bible Study program entitled Away in the Wilderness. I've looked over this and I really think it's a great program. I hope you'll stick around and participate with the discussions. And right now, we're going to be getting started very shortly, but take a moment, unmute your mics, and say hi to the others that are in the room.
Hi.
Hello. Hi.
Hi. Are we it?
Hi, Barb.
Oh, there you go, Sharon. Hey.
Hi, ladies.
Who
Whatever.
was that?
That was Simone, I believe. Was that
Is
Simone?
she there with you?
No, she's not. She's Zooming in with us today.
All right. Hi, Simone.
Hi, Barb.
Alrighty, so just a reminder of some of the methods of being able to follow along with this Bible study a little bit easier. If you find in your list of Zoom windows the SLCW Live window, you might want to click on that and find those little three green dots that might appear. If you mouse over it, or if you put it into a group mode and find it, press and hold. Let's see, press and hold brings up the menu, and then you can hit more and hit pin for that window. I'd encourage you to pin that window so that that's the window that appears in your main screen. The other windows can be small, or you can have them all up on your window if you want. Let's see. Why am I not seeing every window? Gee, I'm having a problem. Love those things.
You're
All right.
blurry.
What's that? I'm blurry? You know, that's a weird thing because I'm here at the church and we've got amazing internet connection. There must be something of a weakness or a overload here in the Worcester area, because there's no reason why I should be blurry at all. I know I'm seeing myself with red on my bars there and now yellow. That shouldn't be happening because we're
you're not.
strong.
You're not now.
Okay. Well, maybe it's going to be in and out all night, but goodness. Anyway, if you are connected to or have pinned the window, you'll get to see things like this appear in that window, and you can double tap on it. If you swipe all the way, everything to the left, you have all the windows on your phone. That's one method of doing it. If it's on a tablet, it's the same kind of thing. Sweep all the way to the left, and that 40 days of giving will be one of the windows. Just double tap on it, and it'll become a larger screen on your Zoom window. So you can follow along as we go through the Bible study itself. So to get started, The Bible study, we are on week 3, and the title for this week is Vulnerable in the Wilderness. And there are 4 readings for today. And if you do pin that window, you'll be able to read along with us because I had created some slides with the NRSV version of the Bible readings. Of course, we'd love to hear the other versions if you're willing to read along. You bring out your Bible and you want to read the King James version, that's fine. Whatever version you want to read. I'll also probably pull up my New Living Translation, which is a much more contemporary thought-for-thought version of it. But this, as we go forward, we're going to look at some of the readings that are listed here, the 4 readings that are listed on this slide, which are Isaiah 59, 1 through 9. And that starts out like so. And I'll start out by reading this one. See, the Lord's hand is not too short to save, nor his ear too dull to hear. Rather, your iniquities have been barriers between you and your God, and your sins have hidden his face from you so that he does not hear. For your hands are defiled with blood, and your fingers with iniquity. Your lips have spoken lies, your tongue mutters wickedness. No one brings suit justly, no one goes to law honestly. They rely on empty pleas. They speak lies, conceive mischief, and begetting iniquity. They hatch adder's eggs and weave the spider's web. Whoever eats their eggs dies, and the crushed egg hatches out a viper. Their webs cannot serve as clothing. They cannot cover themselves with what they make. Their works are works of iniquity, and deeds of violence are in their hands. Their feet run to evil, and they rush to shed innocent blood. Their thoughts are thoughts of iniquity, desolation, and destruction are in their highways. The way of peace they do not know, and there is no justice in their paths. Their roads they have made crooked. No one who walks in them knows peace. Therefore justice is far from us, and righteousness does not reach us. We wait for light, and lo, there is darkness, and for brightness, but we walk in gloom. That's the first reading.
Wow, that was long.
That was
I can
long?
read, no, long, Long, long.
Okay.
I
Okay.
can read Psalms.
You want to read the Psalms? That's the next reading. I'll put up on the screen the Psalm reading, but you can read from your translation if you like. We can read along, kind of thing.
Okay.
Go
All
ahead.
right. Okay. God, you are my God. I eagerly seek you. I thirst for you. My body faints for you in a land that is dry, desolate, and without water. So I gaze on you in the sanctuary to see your strength and your glory. My lips will glorify you because your faithful love is better than life. So I will bless you as I live. At your name, I will lift up my hands. You satisfy me as with rich food. My mouth will praise you with joyful lips. When I think of you as I lie on my bed, I meditate on you during the night watches because you are my helper. I will rejoice in the shadow of your wings. I will follow close to you. Your right hand holds on to me.
Well, I don't know if anybody else was reading along the words that were on the screen. Wasn't that far off of what she was reading? What was the version you were reading?
It's called Christian Standard Bible, Disciple Bible.
Oh, okay. All righty. Simone, are you wanting to read something?
Sure,
You'll go for the First Corinthians version?
absolutely.
Is it going to be the King James?
Yeah, it's gonna be the these and the thus and yes.
Okay. I'll try to follow along with the NRSV version and keep the words on the screen for you. So go ahead.
Okay. Moreover, brethren, I would not that ye should be ignorant, how that all of our fathers were under the cloud, and all passed through the sea, and were all baptized unto Moses in the cloud and in the sea, and did all eat the same spiritual meat, and did all drink the same spiritual drink. For they drank of that spiritual rock that followed them, and that rock was Christ. But with many of them, God was not well pleased, for they were overthrown in the wilderness. Now these things were for our examples, to the intent we should not lust after evil things as they also lusted. Neither be ye idolaters, as were some of them, as it is written, the people sat down to eat and drink, and rose up to play. Neither let us commit fornication, as some of them committed, and fell in one day 23,000. Neither let us tempt Christ, as some of them also tempted, and were destroyed of serpents. Neither murmur ye, as some of them also murmured, and were destroyed of the destroyer. Now all these things happened unto them for examples, and they were written for our admonition, upon whom the ends of the world are come. Wherefore, let him that thinketh he standeth take heed lest he fall. Is there one more? Okay, sorry. There hath no temptation taken you, there hath no temptation taken you, but such as common to man. But God is faithful, who will not suffer you to be tempted above that which ye are able, but will with the temptation also make a way to escape, that ye may be able to bear it.
Wow.
It's I'm just reading from a regular King James. I don't know
A
what.
regular,
Yeah.
what's that?
I don't know what year this is, but you know what I mean? The year it was, I guess edition. I don't know.
Yeah, well, they didn't change it very much, even if after the updates or anything. I don't think they changed it very much. But yeah, that one's kind of tough to follow.
It is from that version. So
Yeah.
I guess for the sake of everyone, I could just read what's on the screen for you.
Oh no, we don't have to do that.
How do I get what's on the screen? I can't. All I get.
I'm sorry, I didn't. You kind of came in and out there for a second. Can you repeat what you were saying?
How do I get? How do I see what you're reading on the screen? I mean, I have a booklet, but what you were reading out of Bibles, you had it on.
Yeah. Now, if you have your phone, if it's on your phone that you're Zooming with us,
Yes.
and if you swipe to the left until you can't swipe any, yeah, you swipe to the left is until you can't swipe any longer.
Yes.
You should see a whole. We'll be around there'll be multiple views of people in the window.
Oh.
All right.
Now I just see. Yeah, I passed everybody. Now it's all black except for Sharon's figure and her name.
Okay. That's interesting.
I went to the left.
Okay, go one back.
Okay.
What do you see now?
I see Simone, you, and a green line around me.
Okay.
Well,
now
there should be you.
2 pictures of me. Pick the one that says SLCW Live.
Okay.
And double tap it. If you double tap that, it should fill the screen and everything else will be smaller. Okay. It should be the big one. Did that happen?
Yeah, now you're big. Now there's only one I see is you.
Okay. And now when I do this, hold on a second. Move this over. Now you see words on your screen.
I sure do. Thank you.
There you go. You're very welcome. That's how you see the words as we go. So did you want to read Luke?
Yes, I can.
Okay.
Are you ready?
Go for it. I'm ready. Go for it.
At that very time, there were some present who told him about the Galileans whose blood Pilate had mingled with their sacrifices. He asked them, "Do you think that because these Galileans suffered in this way, they were worse sinners than all other Galileans? No, I tell you, but unless you repent, you will all perish as they did, or those 18 who were killed when the Tower of Siloam
Yeah, I don't
fell
know how
on
to
them."
pronounce that either.
Do you think that they were worse offenders than all the others living in Jerusalem?
Oh, and it goes on. I'm sorry. I didn't click the screen. There you go.
Oh, is it no?
No, go ahead. No, I tell you.
Okay, no, I tell you. But unless you repent, you will all perish just as they did. Then he told this parable. A man had a fig tree planted in his vineyard, and he came looking for fruit on it and found none. So he said to the gardener, "See here, for 3 years I have come looking for fruit on this fig tree, and still I find none. Cut it down. Why should it be wasting the soil?" He replied, "Sir, let it alone for 1 more year until I dig around it and put manure on it. If it bears fruit next year, well and good. But if not, you can cut it down."
Okay. So what it's referring to is this. I don't know. Is there a fig tree cycle of fruiting that they don't bear fruit every year and may not necessarily bear fruit? What do you think, Barb?
I don't know anything about a fig tree, but but isn't that really can apply that we need to bear fruit?
Yeah, I believe that's part of the lesson. It's bear fruit or be
get
cut
off.
down.
Yeah, or get cut down.
There is a parable of the fig tree. There's a couple. I was trying to find them in here because I haven't read them in a long time.
Well, that Luke lesson was one of them.
No, it's in Matthew too.
Yeah.
Yep. There's one that the man couldn't reach it and got on someone's shoulders, and they were both wrong. It might be in Matthew.
It's in Matthew, I think.
The one you're talking about, the one that had someone jump on a shoulder, wasn't that during his entrance into Israel or the city when he was coming into the city for Passover? Is that the Palm Sunday
Galilee
scenario?
Galilee,
Galilee.
I think. Yeah, I think it was.
Did you find it?
No, I'm looking.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't. I just read it not too long ago. The one man was blind, and the other guy was too short, and so the guy that was blind. Wait a minute. The guy. Oh shoot! Details. I just. They were both wrong. I mean,
I I'm not reading the right one. Wait a minute. Oh. No, I don't see that one.
Yeah. No, the actual, as we start on page 12 of the pamphlet,
Yeah.
if you look on that, it does mention this reading, and it talks about it very specifically.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Let's see if I can bring this up on my screen here. Chrome. Alrighty. That looks like it's weird. All right, so it says the gospel reading for the third Sunday of Lent is challenging. Jesus is speaking as a large gathering of thousands is covering a lot of speaking of a gathering of thousands, we read in Luke 12, and is covering a lot of theological ground. In chapter 13, a group from the crowd shares with them news of the Galileans whose blood Pilate had mingled with their sacrifices. The event warrants no further description from Luke, but the picture the gospel writer paints in just a few words is horrific. While performing a religious ceremony, a group of Galilean Jews have been slaughtered by Pilate's soldiers. Ouch. We have no record of this event in the other sources, but we do know that tragically it would not have been out of character for Pilate. Indeed, the end of Pilate's rule in Judea came about from a similar incident when Pilate ordered his soldiers to massacre a group of Samaritans on Mount Gerizim as they gathered for a religious ceremony. Perhaps by naming the event to Jesus, the people were trying to trick him, and so many others had tried before. Or perhaps they were feeling him out, seeing if Jesus would say anything rebellious against Pilate or Rome. Either way, Jesus doesn't take the bait. As we see so often in the Gospels, Jesus instead uses the opportunity to challenge what the people think they know about God and themselves. At the time, the people believed that tragedies such as the massacre of the Galileans or the deadly collapse of the Tower of Siloam, whatever that is, that killed 18 people were not mere accidents. They were, as one biblical scholar writes, the wages of sin, the violence of tyrants, the human cost of disasters, the ravages of disease. All these were viewed as the intentional consequences meted out by God because the victims had sinned. In short, they believed those who died had gotten what they deserved. And even today, we have some ministers that actually profess this as part of their teachings. I think we lost Sharon. I hope she comes back. The same theological mentality persists today. A 2017 survey of Americans found Christians to be nearly twice as likely to believe that poverty results from the personal moral failings of individuals. The biblical witness in Luke paints a slightly different picture. Jesus pointedly asked the crowd if the Galileans killed by Pilate and the people killed by the falling tower were worse sinners or offenders than others. It's a rhetorical question that Jesus turns to his audience. Of course, they were neither worse sinners nor more egregious offenders. The unjust rule of tyrants is not resolved for the worst of sinners, nor do disasters wait until the most immoral people are at risk. Thus far in the season of Lent, we have been reflecting on what it means to be in the wilderness, journeying towards the promise God has in store. This encounter between Jesus and the crowd, which began in Luke 12 and continues in Luke 13, is a poignant opportunity to continue this reflection. Jesus's rhetorical questions about violence and disaster challenge us to consider our own vulnerability and responsibility as we make our way in the world. Jesus's question reminds the crowd that tragedy and trauma don't wait for morally upright people to get out of harm's way. We are all vulnerable as we traverse a wilderness fraught with injustice. violence, hunger, and poverty. The superiority we may feel over others is neither true nor significant. In Luke, Jesus reminds us that we've all sinned and fallen short of the glory of God. And importantly, neither Pilate nor the Tower of Siloam waited to make sure the most unworthy were at risk before dealing death to the crowd. We might say the same about hunger and poverty today. No amount of hard work can ultimately overcome an unjust system. As research has shown, even the most qualified candidates for jobs can find themselves locked out by systems rooted in prejudice. Neither moral purity nor a clean conscience can undo the damaging impact of housing discrimination that leaves some communities more vulnerable to flooding or storms than others. I think they're referring to the Louisiana area.
Right.
Hunger is not the result of personal moral failings, but a risk we all take in a world still yearning for God to fulfill the promise that all will be fed. Yet research shows clear patterns in the distribution of hunger and poverty in the United States and around the world. The reality is not all of us are equally vulnerable to hunger or poverty, nor are we vulnerable in the same ways. Employment discrimination makes securing jobs harder for candidates of color, even if they are more qualified than candidates who are white. Gender discrimination makes controlling land and securing loans to start a business harder for women. Public funding is often diverted to communities that are already financially secure and away from communities that are at risk. Each of these inequities deepens a person's vulnerability, shifting hunger from an incidental situation to an entrenched reality. As we reflect on our vulnerability in the wilderness, Jesus' message in the gospel reading drives us to reflect on our own responsibility, calling us to examine what fruit, if any, we are producing. Is the work we do in the world reducing our shared vulnerability or increasing it? How are our laws, policies, and practices making the wilderness a less dangerous place for ourselves and our neighbors? The teachings Jesus offers in Luke 12 and 13 are grounded in themes of anticipation and watchfulness. The practice of repentance and reconciliation he encourages are part of the identity of a people looking to the coming reign of God, preparing for a world that is no longer a wilderness, but a full expression of God's promise. Barbara, would you like to continue reading?
I would.
Okay, go for it.
As the church, we are called to anticipate this promised future. In our confession, we confront the distance between where and who we are now and where and who we are called to be. In our commission, we bear witness to what we know by faith, that the death-dealing realities of a violent Pilate, crashing towers, and hunger-causing injustices ought not to be. These realities are no more part of God's plan for us now than they are a part of God's plan for our future. As we journey together in the wilderness this Lent, Jesus' words remind us of what it means to be vulnerable, to be responsible, and to bear witness to the future we know God has in store.
Oh, we're on to the reflection questions. I'm going to get out of that right now. Hold on a second. Let's go back to the Zoom meeting. Goodness. We lost Sharon, I guess.
Oh,
That's a shame.
yes.
All right. So, and it looks as though we're a little glitchy here because SLCW Live is still showing the, let's go this way and see if it does anything. Nope. Okay. Well, it's not showing the PowerPoint right now. I don't know why SLC does, unless, is it showing for you?
It shows the mountains,
The mountains, and it shows the first question. Okay. For some reason,
yes, it does.
in my window, it's not showing that. Alrighty,
see.
well, that's fine. So this question comes up. What situations or circumstances have left you or your community feeling vulnerable?
Mm,
COVID.
I think that's the easy answer, isn't it? I mean,
yeah.
and it's the obvious answer. I think we all can agree that that is truly something
yeah.
that's caused us a vulnerability and made us very aware of how vulnerable the world can make us each individually. I mean, how many people get a sniffle or get a cough and automatically start thinking to themselves, "Oh no, I've got COVID,
Yeah.
and I'm going to die, and there's no hope." And if I talk to somebody and I cough, or if you're talking to somebody in a group setting that you're 20 feet away from them and you cough, people look at you like you're about to explode. It's almost like they're waiting for your body to just completely disintegrate in an explosion because you must have COVID.
Yeah.
Or waiting for you to leave.
Yeah, that too. They're definitely ready for me to leave. So there's that.
Yeah, like.
So yeah, I get that all the time, actually. So it's not that much of a different question for me. But outside of COVID, what kind of scenarios have maybe you been in that you found yourself to be vulnerable?
Probably when I left Bill and my family, and I was in an apartment down on Beaver Street, and it was like, whoa, what in the heck am I doing here? I mean, but I had a lot of help. But I had never been out up by myself before. And so it was a valuable learning experience, but the next door house was full of drugs and, just so uncertain. And that was probably the most vulnerable time I've been in my life, is when I was by myself. I mean, really by myself. And yeah, and sometimes it's due for the mistakes and choices I've made. That mistakes have come through my choices.
Yeah.
It's how we learn.
Yeah.
By making mistakes.
Yes, that's how you learn.
If you're not making mistakes, you're most likely not trying very hard.
Yeah.
I heard that comment once before, and I really like that philosophy.
I do like that.
Because I mean, that kind of gives you the opportunity to make mistakes and realize, well, if I was perfect, well,
where would I have to go?
And the thing is, if I'm perfect and I never have a mistake in my path, am I really trying hard enough? I mean, obviously you might not be, because obviously if everything's just working out for you,
yeah,
you ain't trying very hard. You can't possibly be trying very hard.
Yeah.
Sounds perfect.
Well, except for Simone. Simone's perfect, right?
Oh, yes. Yes.
Miss Barb, I am not perfect by any stretch of the imagination. None. I talk about myself, okay? I make fun of myself. I'm not very quick, so it takes me a minute sometimes, and Tim takes advantage of that.
I try my best. You see, I'm always trying, and I fail sometimes to do the good job of causing you grief.
There you go. Or
Yes.
confusion. Confusion.
All right. So the second part of this question is still here. It's the how does faith in God help you navigate times when you feel powerless or at risk? Can you guys see this on your screen? You can. I can see it from
Yeah,
mine.
I can. Yeah.
I can
Okay,
see it.
good.
I'm reading it from my paper. So if you see my
I
hand,
am
Okay.
too.
it's because I'm looking at this paper.
Well, you're also looking at, TikToks. That's okay.
I'm looking at this paper, and never be
Tim.
that rude, Barb.
No, no,
No.
No,
couldn't possibly.
Are we live stream?
Yes, we are.
Oh.
um, there are so many situations in our lives, and I'm sure where you already knew if something was happening to you, or it wasn't so good. The immediate thing always for me is to look to God for direction. And even if it's something I did wrong, forgiveness. But for definitely when you're scared and you feel powerless, it's probably the sole thing that got me through having a breast cancer diagnosis. I don't know how else I got through that other than the love of my family and friends. But I mean, the first thing was God. I even told my cancer team at the table, I was sitting there with my son. He had come down there with me, and I said, I know all of you are doing what you need to do, and I'm going to look and trust in you. But my first trust is going to be in God, because he does all things and whatever you're doing, and they respected that. So that's just always that's the first thing you look. And that's probably one of the scariest moments. One of them I've ever had in my life was getting a call like that. I can't even describe what it's like to hear somebody on another line telling you you have cancer. And I can't tell you I can't even imagine. They caught mine early. It was stage 1 and they got it. And I've been good for 3 years now.
Good.
Yeah. But
so good.
yeah, it is good. And these things that we do, these practices with doctors and getting examined every year and all that, real important. That's why they caught it. But not long story short, I mean, yeah, that was one for sure. And I'm sure I could think of a couple of more where, I know God intervened for sure. So,
Yeah.
So.
And yes, when I lived on Beaver Street, I needed to have a hip replacement, and I had a cat. I lived in a second floor apartment, so I had everything all arranged to go to Glendora to rehab. And then my doctor came in the day after my surgery and said, Glendora won't take you. And I said, is it insurance? And they said, no, you're doing so well. And so there I was.
Not doing well enough, obviously.
No,
right? I mean, you didn't think yourself was doing well.
No. So I called Bill, and he said, well, I'm watching Ohio State. I'll be at the hospital after the game's over. Well, he showed up in about 20 minutes. And I said, I was thinking of women that I could go stay with because we were living apart. And he said, Barb, you come home. And I did. I was praying at that time about how I was, I wanted to go back home. And then here God did intercede, if he had to, because I would have gone to Glendora with my cat. And I ended up going back home. So
Okay.
So that was good.
All right, well, let's move on to the next question here.
Okay.
And that is, consider some of the observations about hunger and poverty in the study session for this week. What are some of the factors that make us and our neighbors vulnerable to hunger and poverty?
Oh,
All right, I think we can, I'll just blurt it out. I'll say COVID again, just so we get that off the table. Because it just seems like COVID isn't helping people maintain employment, keep their bank accounts full. And at times I see people getting out to the meals a lot more often than they may have if they weren't dealing with COVID at this point. But
Mhm.
observations about hunger and poverty.
talking right now about gas prices, that's not helping us,
No.
keep out of poverty or potentially being vulnerable to being hungry. You have to get to and from where you're going, and having that expense jump up almost twice as expensive as it was before, that really cuts into your budget. And it could really cause you to kind of teeter on that edge.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Going along the same line of the expenses of gasoline, just costs in general are going up. I remember being able to buy ground beef, and I bought ground beef this past week for the chili cook-off, and I think it was $25 for 2 pounds. I was like, what in the world?
Yeah.
I don't.
It's gone up.
I seem to remember $8 for 2 pounds or $10 right around there, but not 20 something.
Yeah.
So I don't think I bought a higher quality meat. It was just Walmart meat.
Might need to shop around a little bit, Tim. That's kind of a lot for that. I've not seen it for that much, like for 2 pounds. That's a lot.
I would agree. It's over $10 a pound.
Wow, that's a lot. You shop around a little bit. Wow, where was that at?
Walmart.
That's nuts.
I agree. I agree. I didn't want to pay it.
No, I wouldn't either.
Yeah, I wouldn't have paid it. I mean, you gotta do what you have to do, but yeah, things are going up everywhere. They're blaming COVID. They're blaming shortages and stuff sitting out in barges in the ocean. I mean, I don't know.
Yep, the supply line has been stricken.
Yes, that's what I mean. Yeah.
Yeah.
And shortages in labor to get things done.
Yeah.
I mean, that's everywhere. My day job, we're 250 people down. Can't get people to work.
Did 250 people staff down at Oriana? Really?
Yes.
Wow.
It's mainly our our resident supervisor staff, the line staff that work in the buildings.
250 down. Goodness.
Yeah, for males particularly. It's really bad. Yep.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure we're going to be having a scenario that's going to help with reducing hunger or poverty in the near future. I think we're coming up against a real wall that we're going to run face first into, and we're going to see a lot more poverty, and we're going to see a lot more hunger.
Yeah, it's going to be hard. People, Some of it can be us. We might need to be a little bit smarter,
Yeah, I
Yeah.
agree.
with our spending, planning ahead. Like even when I thought these truckers were going on strike or whatever, I mean, I kind of supplied up a little bit because I didn't know, they were going to be delivering things that we needed.
Right.
You weren't one of the folks stocking up on toilet paper again, were you?
Oh, Tim.
Just asking.
No.
They didn't have very many. They didn't have very much toilet paper at Walmart yesterday. I'll just say.
No, I'm not a toilet paper hoarder. I didn't say toilet paper. I said like food or boxed things or canned things. And I never was a toilet paper hoarder, even during COVID. If I have a friend that wouldn't go out and get stuff, so I went and got her some toilet paper, but wasn't hoarding it.
Well, good, because that stuff's gonna get around. That didn't
Hoarding
sound
toilet
right.
paper.
Anyway, the third question for the day is talking about in this week's readings, and I think they're mostly focusing on Luke's the last reading. What is Jesus saying about what it means to be the people of God? I'm looking at the fig tree parable.
The fig tree.
Fig tree parable. I'm talking about, if you're not growing fruit, you get your limbs, chopped off, kind of thing. You need to be providing fruit, working toward getting fruit, and providing something to the community.
Right.
So, a lot of the Lutheran tradition isn't about the idea of works. It's more about faith and grace.
Right.
But we should be doing the works. It's not the way to get to heaven, but we should be doing that. So that's, I think, a lot about the fig tree is like, if it's not producing fruit, then it should be cut off. So let's do that. Let's produce fruit and continue to do what we're doing in our community here.
Right.
Yes. You should do for your community, for your families, even for someone maybe you don't know as well, or even a perfect stranger. They need some help. They need some help.
Yeah. Today I take a cab to our Wednesday morning study at Salem, and I had just made cookies this morning. So I took a little snack bag and put 2 cookies in. I was going to give it to the cab driver. And this driver said, I don't get homemade stuff anymore. It was like I had given him $1 million. He was so appreciative of those 2 cookies.
Isn't that the nicest thing ever? I like that too.
Yeah, I give my cookies away.
That's nice.
It is.
That's really nice. That's cool.
Thank you.
Sure.
All righty. Well, the last question is listed here, and this is number 4, and it says, as Lutherans, we believe that we are saved by grace despite our own sin. How does that truth of grace change how we relate to our neighbors, especially our neighbors facing hunger or poverty?
Well, I think people who love God, any of God's children, if you have any kind of moral or decency, you will help someone in need if you're able to. I mean, I have fed and helped, and I don't brag. I just, you just do, and you do without expectation.
Right.
And some people might look at you. I've had people take me really incorrectly and think I was doing stuff for some kind of value for me. I don't do that for me.
Yeah.
I do more for people than I do for me, really. And it's my pleasure. It doesn't bother me. And I don't do it because I need to feel any kind of affirmation or, look what I did. I'm not a bragger at all. I just do because it needs to be done. I've always been that kind of person, even at any of my works. I just do what needs to be done.
Mm-hmm.
Help who needs to be helped, if I can.
And I have to be a person that says, yes, you do. And you should be commended for that. So thank you, Simone, for being such a helpful person to everyone you know.
Try to be. Not always successful, but you try to be.
All righty. Well, as we prepare to end this session, oh my goodness, it's almost an hour in here. We work toward week 4, which is next Wednesday, and take a minute to take a look at these readings that we have coming up. Joshua 5, 9 to 12, and Psalm 32, 2 Corinthians 5, 16 to 21, and Luke 15, 1 to 3, 11b to 32. So you can pause and look at those things over again if you wanted to, or just download that the booklet that's available on the slcw.org website and review those items yourself, maybe even get a head start on the reading of the actual materials that they have in next week's listing. Now we'd end by this prayer, and this is the prayer that's part of this booklet. So let's bow our heads in prayer. Loving God, you sent your Son to save us when we could not save ourselves, yet we still strive to save ourselves. Forgive us for the ways we have divided your world of grace according to our own false ideas of worth. Remind us of the gracious love that creates, saves, and sustains us. Move us to be witnesses of your grace in the world and to seek new ways of sharing that with our neighbors. In your loving name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Barb. Always good talking to you.
Good talking to you. Thank you, Simone.
Yep.
Glad you're here.
Thank you all for coming out. I think Sharon disappeared there midway through. I think her connection went bad, but hopefully we'll see her back, or she's probably just watching us on live stream. So thank you, and hopefully we'll see you all next week. Invite a friend, bring a friend, whatever you want to do.
Okay.
If you like what we're doing here, join us. Tell people about it.
It's a nice session.
All right. Well, thank you very much, and we're in the stream now.
Okay. Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Take this off. Let me get off this screen.
Oh, I still